late 1940s would see a string of new post-war cars, some all new, some simply updated, and some just happy to be back on the market. Chrysler resumed civilian production in 1946 with the mostly new CC. It was available in half a dozen two-door body styles, including a pickup, all on an 80-inch wheelbase, weighing 1,200 to 1,500 pounds. Prices started between $900 and $1,400, and power came from a 724cc, 44 cubic inch, 27 horsepower, 33 pound-feet of torque, overhead cam Cobra inline 4. It took nearly 40 seconds to reach 60, topped out at 63, and averaged 35 miles per gallon, but in the right conditions could get better than 50. The new post-war Plymouth arrived in 1949 on either a 111 or 119-inch wheelbase, with 5 body styles weighing between 2,800 and 3,800 pounds. Starting price was between $1,400 and $2,000, with a 3.6-liter, 218 cubic inch inline 6, with 95 horsepower and 175 pound-feet of torque. A special deluxe coupe hit 60 in the high 18s and could do just over 80 miles an hour. The newly restyled 49 Ford still used a 114-inch wheelbase and the same engines, the 3.7-liter 226 cubic inch, 95 horsepower, 180 pound-feet of torque straight 6, and the 3.9-liter 239 cubic inch, 100 horsepower, 180 pound-feet of torque flathead V8. Starting price was $1,400 to $2,100. Weight was 3,000 to 3,600 pounds, and a V8 two-door sedan could reach 60 in 17 seconds and do 85 miles an hour. The 49 Chevy was shortened to a 115-inch wheelbase, weighed 3,000 to 3,400 pounds, and cost $1,400 to $2,300. The 3.5-liter, 216 cubic inch, 90 horsepower, 174 pound-feet of torque Stovebolt 6 carried over. A Fleetline two-door sedan did 60 in just over 21 seconds and had a top speed in the low 70s. Willys introduced the almost car-like Jeepster Phaeton in 1948 at $1,500 to $1,800. A bit deluxe for its 2.2-liter, 134 cubic inch, 63 horsepower Go Devil inline 4, but it had four-wheel drive standard. It used a 104-inch wheelbase and weighed 2,500 pounds. The 1949 Dodges came in 115, 124, and 138-inch wheelbases, weighing 3,000 to 4,000 pounds, and priced $1,600 to $2,900. The 3.8-liter, 230 cubic inch, 103 horsepower, 190 pound-feet of torque straight 6 carried over. And a Coronet with a 4-speed Gyro-Matic hit 60 in 22.5 seconds and would do over 80. Studebaker was somewhat quicker to market, with new styling arriving in 1947, priced at $1,700 to $2,500. Wheelbases were now 112, 119, and 123, with the 170 cubic inch, 80 horsepower straight 6 being joined by a 246 cubic inch, 100 horsepower straight 6. Pontiac for 1949 offered 6 body styles on its 120-inch wheelbase, with prices ranging from $1,700 to $2,700 and weight from 3,400 to 3,800. Engine options were a 3.9-liter, 239 cubic inch, 93 horsepower, 178 pound-feet of torque straight 6, or a 4.1-liter, 249 cubic inch, 105 horsepower, 190 pound-feet of torque straight 8. A Chieftain 8 could get to 60 in under 18 seconds and reach speeds above 80 miles an hour. The Airflight Nashes arrived in 1949 on 112 and 121-inch wheelbases, weighing 3,000 to 3,400 pounds. The unibody construction limited them to 3 body styles each, and prices ranged from $1,800 to $2,400. You had your choice of 2.8-liter, 173 cubic inch, 82 horsepower, 138 pound-feet of torque, and 3.8-liter, 235 cubic inch, 112 horsepower, 208 pound-feet of torque, straight 6. An Ambassador could do 60 in 16.5 seconds and exceed 90 miles an hour. The new 1949 Oldsmobile came in 120 and 125-inch wheelbases, weighed 3,200 to 4,200 pounds, with prices ranging from $1,800 to $3,000. New engines included the 4.2-liter 257 cubic inch, 105 horsepower, 202 pound-feet of torque straight 6, and the 5-liter, 304 cubic inch, 135 horsepower, 263 pound-feet of torque V8. A Futuramic 88 hit 60 in the mid-16-second range and could also do more than 90 miles an hour. Buicks for 49 were on 121 and 126-inch wheelbases, weighed 3,700 to 4,500 pounds, and cost $1,800 to $3,800. The smaller 4.1-liter 248 cubic inch straight 8 came in 110, 115, and 120 horsepower versions, while the bigger 5.2-liter 230 cubic inch straight 8 had 150 horsepower and 280 pound-feet of torque. A Roadmaster would hit 60 in the mid-17-second range with a top speed near 85. New step-down Hudsons for 1948 started at $1,900 to $2,900. Wheelbase was 124 inches and weight 3,500 to 3,800 pounds. Base engine was a 4.3-liter, 262 cubic inch, 121 horsepower, 200 pound-feet of torque, straight 6, with an optional 4.2-liter, 254 cubic inch, 128 horsepower, 198 pound-feet of torque, straight 8. A Commodore 8 with a DriveMaster semi-automatic did 60 in 20.5 seconds and topped out at 90. The Mercury was now more distinct from Ford, not only its 118-inch wheelbase and $2,000 price tag, but its styling and its bigger 4.2-liter, 255 cubic inch, 110 horsepower, 220 pound-feet of torque V8. Top speed was over 80, and 60 came in just over 17 seconds. The 49 DeSoto came on 126 and 140-inch wheelbases. Prices were $2,000 to $3,200, and weight was 3,500 to 4,400 pounds. The 3.9-liter 237 cubic inch straight 6 had 112 horsepower and 192 pound-feet of torque, and moved the car to 60 in under 20 seconds and could reach speeds over 80. Kaiser was built on the bones of Graham Page and took a huge styling leap forward with its first model in 1947. It had a 124-inch wheelbase and weighed 3,300 pounds, costing $2,100 to $3,400. The 3.7-liter Continental 6 had 100 horsepower and 180 pound-feet of torque and took just over 19 seconds to reach 60 with a top end over 80. The Chryslers were the last to introduce new models for 1949, which were priced from $2,100 to $5,200. They came on 126, 132, 140, and 146-inch wheelbases, weighing 3,500 to 5,300 pounds. Engine choices were a 4.1-liter 250 cubic inch, 116 horsepower, 208 pound-feet of torque straight 6, and a 5.3-liter 324 cubic inch, 135 horsepower, 270 pound-feet of torque straight 8. A New Yorker Presto-Matic took just over 21 seconds to get to 60 and could top 85 miles an hour. The Frazier was a slightly upmarket version of the Kaiser, costing $3,200 to $2,800. It shared its 124-inch wheelbase and its 112 horsepower engine. Updated Packards arrived for 1948. The straight 8 was offered in 4.7-liter 288 cubic inch, 130 horsepower, 230 pound-feet of torque, 5.4-liter 327 cubic inch, 145 horsepower, 267 pound-feet of torque, and 5.8-liter 356 cubic inch, 160 horsepower, 280 pound-feet of torque versions. Weight ranged from 3,800 to 4,800 pounds, and prices from $2,300 to $4,800. The 356 could do 60 in the high 14s and reach about 85 miles an hour. Checkers' post-war models looked more like other American companies' pre-war models. The 3.7-liter Continental 6 was similar to the one used in Kaiser, but only had 80 horsepower and 174 pound-feet of torque. Wheelbase started at 124 inches and weight at 4,200 pounds, with prices starting at $2,400. The new Lincolns for 1949 came on 121 and 125-inch wheelbases and cost $2,500 to $4,000. The V12 was replaced by a 5.5-liter 337 cubic inch, 152 horsepower, 275 pound-feet of torque V8 in a car weighing 4,000 to 4,400 pounds. 60 could be had in less than 15 seconds, and the car could top 90. The new Cadillacs arrived in 1948, a year before other GM divisions, in 126, 129, 133, and 136-inch wheelbases. A new for 1949 5.4-liter 331 cubic inch, 160 horsepower 312 pound-feet of torque, overhead valve V8 was 4 seconds quicker than the outgoing V8 to 60 at just under 13, and the top speed was now just under 100. For 1949, prices ranged from $2,800 to $5,200. Tucker managed to produce 50 torpedoes in 1958. The uniquely styled cars had a 128-inch wheelbase, weighed 4,200 pounds, and were powered by a 5.5-liter, 334 cubic inch flat 6 with 166 horsepower. Prices were in the neighborhood of $4,000. From Britain, the Hillman Minx Mark III and IV arrived for 1948 and 49, with a 35 horsepower 1.2 liter and a 38 horsepower 1.3 liter. A 49 Mark IV took 33.5 seconds to get to 60, on its way to nearly 70. Prices started at just over 500 pounds, and it could get 28 miles per gallon. The Singer Super 10 was revived after the war with a bigger 1200cc 37 horsepower engine, with prices starting at $900. The post-war Lanchester LD10 had a 1.3-liter inline 4 with 40 horsepower on a 99-inch wheelbase, weighing in at 2,500 pounds. Morris introduced the sort of medium-sized Oxford MO in 1948 on a 97-inch wheelbase. It used a 1.5-liter inline 4 with 41 horsepower and 67 pound-feet of torque. It could do 70 miles an hour and get to 60 in just under 34 seconds. Updated Vauxhalls had a 98-inch wheelbase and either a 1.4-liter 35 horsepower inline 4 or a 2.3-liter inline 6 with 54 horsepower. A 6-cylinder model with a tested price of 550 pounds did 60 in under 23 seconds and reached nearly 75 miles an hour and got better than 18 miles per gallon. The Sunbeam 80 and 90 used a 98-inch wheelbase and weighed about 3,000 pounds. Prices started at $1,400, and engine choices were a 47 horsepower 1.2-liter and a 64 horsepower 2-liter. The Riley RMA had a 1.5-liter inline 4 with 55 horsepower and 77 pound-feet of torque. Wheelbase was 113 inches, and U.S. prices were in the neighborhood of $2,500. The 2,700-pound car could do nearly 80 and reach 60 in 25 seconds, while the Lea-Francis 14 and 15 offered a 48 horsepower 1.5-liter, 53 horsepower 1.6-liter, and a 65 horsepower 94 pound-feet of torque 1.8-liter on a 111-inch wheelbase. The Biggish Saloon took nearly 24 seconds to reach 60 and a top speed of just over 75. Triumph's 1800 Renown cost $1,800, ran on a 108-inch wheelbase, and had 65 horsepower. Alvis introduced the TA-14 in 1946. It was available as a drop-head coupe and sedan, with prices ranging from $1,200 to $2,800. Weight was about 3,100 pounds, and power came from a 1.9-liter inline 4 with 65 horsepower and 81 pound-feet of torque. It could reach 75 miles an hour and hit 60 in under 30 seconds. The Austin A70 Hampshire offered 3 body styles on a 96-inch wheelbase weighing 2,700 pounds. Prices started at about 650 pounds, and it used a 2.2-liter inline 4 with 67 horsepower and 96 pound-feet of torque. The Rover P3 had a 110-inch wheelbase and either a 50 horsepower, 84 pound-feet of torque 1.6-liter inline 4 or a 72 horsepower, 117 pound-feet of torque 2.1-liter straight 6. The cars weighed 3,000 pounds and prices started at nearly 1,100 pounds. The P375 took just over 21 seconds to get to 60, on its way to just above 80. Ford of Europe was starting to go in a different direction than Ford America. The UK-built Pilot was on a 108-inch wheelbase and weighed 3,200 pounds. The 4 body styles included a pickup. The 3.6-liter, 221 cubic inch V8 produced 85 horsepower and 151 pound-feet of torque, and moved the car to 60 in under 19 seconds with a top speed over 80. The Hummer Hawk Mark III used a 2-liter inline-4 with 56 horsepower on a 106-inch wheelbase, costing $1,000, while the Snipe came in 114-inch wheelbase with 2.7-liter 65 horsepower straight six, and the Super Snipe with a 4.1-liter 100 horsepower, 198 pound-feet of torque straight six. A Super Snipe hit 60 in just under 19 seconds to come just short of an 80-mile-an-hour top speed. By 1948, Lagonda was now part of Aston Martin, including the 2.6-liter version. It had 105 horsepower, 133 pound-feet of torque on a 114-inch wheelbase, and sold for more than 3,400 pounds, or nearly $4,100. Although they cost closer to $5,500 in the U.S. Only 510 sold, and either coupe or sedan could do 60 in 17.5 seconds. The Jaguar Mark V was introduced in 1948 in drop-head coupe or convertible and a sedan on a 120-inch wheelbase. The new overhead valve straight six came in 2.2-liter, 102 horsepower, 150 pound-feet of torque, or 3.5-liter, 120 horsepower, 180 pound-feet of torque versions. With prices starting near $2,800, about 5,000 sold a year, with the 3.5-liter hitting 60 in the low 15-second range, topping out at 90. The Bentley Mark VI had an 120-inch wheelbase and a 4.3-liter, 260 cubic inch straight six, with an unadvertised 126 horsepower. In the U.S., prices started just under $10,000 for cars that weighed over 4,100 pounds. The Rolls-Royce Silver Dawn that arrived in 1949 was essentially the same car. 120-inch wheelbase, 4.3-liter, 126 horsepower straight six, and prices starting at 4,700 pounds, or about $6,000, although the U.S. price was nearly twice that. Bodies were done by the factory for the first time, and they would soon replace Daimler as the official transportation of the Queen. The Daimler DE27 had a 4-liter, 110 horsepower, 192 pound-feet of torque straight six on a 138-inch wheelbase at 5,600 pounds, while the DE47 had a 5.5-liter, 150 horsepower, 253 pound-feet of torque straight eight on a 147-inch wheelbase, weighing closer to 6,000 pounds, with the more powerful car topping out just under 90 and getting to 60 in about 20.5 seconds. The French Citroën Traction Avant would carry on for some time, but the new model would be the 2CV. The 374 cubic inch air-cooled twin had 9 horsepower and 14 pound-feet of torque in a car with a 95-inch wheelbase and that weighed 1,100 pounds. It could do nearly 40 miles an hour. The Simca 6 was newly styled, but carried on with the 79-inch wheelbase and 570cc inline-4, which was now up to 17 horsepower. The Renault 4CV offered 4 body styles on its 83-inch wheelbase, weighing in at 1,400 pounds. The 760cc inline-4 had 19 horsepower and 35 pound-feet of torque, and a top speed just shy of 60. The 48 Panhard Dyna X had 4 body styles on its 84-inch wheelbase, weighing 1,200 to 1,400 pounds. The 610cc flat twin had 23 horsepower and 29 pound-feet of torque, and could get above 60, but it took a minute 15 to get there. The Peugeot 2002 would be replaced by the 2003 in 1949. The 2,100-pound car was available in 5 body styles on a 102-inch wheelbase, except the Estate, which was on a 109-inch wheelbase. The 1,300cc inline-4 produced 42 horsepower and 59 pound-feet of torque, and moved the car to 60 in just under 31 seconds, and a top speed just short of 70. The new bigger Delahaye's, the 175, 178, and 180, were introduced on 116, 124, and 131-inch wheelbases, powered by a bigger 4.5-liter inline-6 with 38 horsepower and 218 pound-feet of torque. A Model 175 hit 60 in just under 15 seconds and came in just shy of 100 miles an hour. In Germany, the Borward-Hansa 1500 was considered the first all-new post-war German car and was offered in 7 body styles weighing 1,100 to 1,300 pounds. The 1.5-liter inline-4 had 47 horsepower and 72 pound-feet of torque and moved the car to 60 in 30 seconds on its way above 70. Mercedes upgraded the 170 to the S and D for 1949 with a 1.8-liter gas or diesel inline-4. The diesel version had 38 horsepower and 71 pound-feet of torque, and the gas version 51 horsepower and 83 pound-feet of torque. A 170S did 60 in under 30 seconds and could do better than 70. The diesel was 5 miles an hour slower and took an additional 20 seconds to reach 60. The Opel Capitan also ran on a 106-inch wheelbase and weighed 2,700 pounds. The 2.5-liter, 54 horsepower, 105 pound-feet of torque straight 6 moved the car to 60 in just over 26 seconds to climb just above 70. While BMW's new 340 didn't have a traditional BMW grille, but the 113-inch wheelbase and 2-liter 55 horsepower straight 6 carried over, and weight was up to 2,600 pounds. In Italy, the big Fiats, the 1100 and 1500E, used a 95 and 110-inch wheelbase and weighed 2,100 to 2,500 pounds. With the 1100's 35 horsepower, 46 pound-feet of torque 4-cylinder reaching 60 in about 41.5 seconds to come in just short of 70 miles an hour, while the bigger 46 horsepower, 56 pound-feet of torque 1500 straight 6 could do 70 and get to 60 a second quicker. Lancia continued on with the Aprilia until the end of the decade and the Ardea into the 1950s. The Aprilia on a 108-inch wheelbase with a 1.5-liter, 48 horsepower, 74 pound-feet of torque V4 hitting 60 in just over 23 seconds and topping out just shy of 80. And the smaller 96-inch wheelbase 1,700-pound Ardea being the bread and butter car, with a 903cc V4 being up to 30 horsepower and 44 pound-feet of torque, taking more than 43 seconds to reach 60 before topping out just above 65. In Sweden, Volvo introduced the smaller PV444 in 1947. It ran on a 95-inch wheelbase and weighed about 2,100 pounds. The 40 horsepower came from a 1.4-liter inline-4. In Czechoslovakia, the Skoda Popular was updated for 1946 to create the 1101. There were 8 body styles on the 98-inch wheelbase, weighing 2,000 to 2,400 pounds. Its 1,100cc inline-4 produced 32 horsepower. While the new communist-developed Tatra T600 Tatraplane used a 50 horsepower 2-liter flat 4 on a 106-inch wheelbase. From Russia, there was the Gaz Molotov 20, or M20 Pobeda, meaning victory, running on a 106-inch wheelbase and weighing 3,200 pounds. It was powered by a 50 horsepower, 91 pound-feet of torque, 2.1-liter inline-4. The cars could hit 60 in 42.5 seconds and almost reach 70. And the ZIL, or ZIS 110, was a copy of the post-war Packard 180 Super 8. It ran on a 148-inch wheelbase, powered by a 6-liter, 140 horsepower straight 8, and weighed 5,700 pounds. Elsewhere, the baby Chevrolet would be introduced in Australia as the first Holden in 1948. Initially just offered as a sedan, it used a 2.2-liter, 135 cubic inch, 60 horsepower straight 6 on an 103-inch wheelbase and weighing 2,200 pounds. 60 was just under 23 seconds, and it could do 75 miles an hour. Japan was still trying to find its legs. The Datsun DB of 1948 was a mechanical carryover of the earlier models, with its styling loosely based on the Chrysler. Wheelbase remained 79 inches, and the 722cc inline-4 had 16 horsepower and 27 pound-feet of torque in the 1,200-pound car. Toyota's first new post-war model, the Toyopet SA, had a 95-inch wheelbase, weighed 2,600 pounds, and had a 27 horsepower 995cc inline 4. Less than 200 were made. It seems the beginning of the modern automotive era was not yet so modern in many cases, but things would continue to change quickly. So as always, thanks for watching. Don't forget to comment below and like and subscribe.